With me today is Carlos, who had a spiritual awakening after some supernatural events that he experienced around his friend. Carlos, thanks for joining me. How you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You can start at whatever point you feel is most relevant to the story, and the floor is yours.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I guess I'll start with the little back history with my friend. He's a brother-in-law, and also a close friend of mine. We met a long time ago, and he's what's called a bruja, which is just Spanish for a witch, kind of. But like, I've seen and experienced a lot of crazy stuff with him, working with him, living with him, visiting places with him, stuff like that. This specific story is one of my favorite stories. Is It was after a really long week, like just I guess I was just drained physically, emotionally, mentally. I was just completely drained. The bosses were pushing for us to finish all this work, and after a few days of just being completely drained, I I was out. I was getting my stuff together. I had to. I guess I'll try to do a little more detail with the story. So I'm working. My boss is telling me, "Hey, finish this job." I'm like, "I don't have the energy to do it." He's like, finish it for us anyways, and you can have all the time off that you want." So I said, "Okay." I worked till 4 in the morning one day and went right back to work at 9 the next day. I busted my ass to finish this job, and I finally finish it. And I'm like, "Okay, I'm done. I'm ready to come turn in my paperwork." He goes, "I need you to help out someone else." Like, I'm too drained for this. I don't have the mental capacity for this. They're like, "Please just do it. You can take as much time as you want." I said, "Okay." So I helped him finish. And this friend of mine, he likes to mess with people, and he was just messing with me the whole time. And it was getting to me. It was bugging me. Like, I had gone straight down the hole, and I was frustrated. I was angry. I was upset, and of course my friend's just feeding off of this and just feeding it more and more. Well, finally, we finished the work. I'm like, I'm going to finish my paperwork, turn it in first thing in the morning. That's when the bosses want it. And I'm going to take like 2 weeks off. So I'm sitting there, I'm finishing my paperwork. It's pretty much midnight. And I get a call from my friend who was working with us. His aunt needed him to go home that night. And I'm like, I'm too tired to drive. I can't do this. So we had my cousin drive us down there, and I slept in the back. And out of nowhere, I happened to wake up, and I just had this funny feeling. And I look out, and I'm looking on the highway, and I could see shadows in the distance. And before you know it, we're driving through this car accident, and it just shreds the bottom of my truck, blows out a tire. There was some other damage, and we ended up pulling off to the side and waiting for a half hour. At this point, I'd caught in another wind. I'm wide awake. I've you know I'm wide awake and just in complete disbelief on how the week has gone, how everything's going. At this point, there's nothing that could surprise me, and we're wide awake, and we're just laughing about the situation. And I didn't have a jack to change out the tire on my truck because I had been working on it previously, and now I'm at the point where I don't have the jack. I have all the tools, I have the spares, but nothing to do. And then the cops show up. So we're like, cool, maybe they have a jack. Cop shows up, and he's like, "We don't carry jacks. We have a service vehicle that comes out." So luckily he called them for us. It took them another half hour to an hour for them to show up. They get there, we jack it up, and we switch the tire out in 5 minutes. As I'm tightening down the last bolt, the cop holding the flashlight for us, he says, "Hey, looks like you're losing brake fluid down there." And I'm like, "Of course I am." So I look down, and there, sure enough, we've got a big pool of brake fluid. And I just laughing it off. We're like, "You know what? If we have enough braking power, we'll just slowly creep into town. We're probably about 50 miles away from where we're going. Let's just creep into town." So we do that. At this point, it's like 2 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning. So no one's on the road anyways. And so we're driving, and we're just laughing, like, how could tonight get any worse? And right as we say that, the gas light turns on, and we're smack dab in the middle of two country towns. Like, literally we die out in the middle of these, and it's 5 miles either direction to get to either town. So we decide to hoof it. I had a little tank of gas, and we walk down there, and we're just cracking up, and we're sitting there, and my friend the bruja, he he's joking around. He throws his hands in the air. He goes, "Why don't you just make it rain on us? Why? How could this get any worse?" And we're just laughing it off like it's nothing. And we fill up the tank, and we're walking back to the truck. And this is a summer night, clear, not a single cloud in the sky. The moon is bright, shining. You can see everything around us. It's a beautiful night, absolutely beautiful night. And we're just walking down the highway, and all of a sudden we get this cool breeze, like this cold air, cold wind on our back. And it's starts off small, and it starts to pick up, and it turns into like a solid 20-mile-an-hour wind. Next thing you know, we start to feel moisture, cold moisture on our back, and all of a sudden it just starts raining, just dumping on us, whoosh, coming down, soaked us for like 5 minutes straight. And then as we continue walking, this it just stops, and this little black cloud, like, I mean, it was a cloud, so you can't really tell how big it was, but it was tiny, and it just flies off into the distance,
Hmm.
like yeah, like some kind of supernatural craft or something. It just takes off doing probably a couple thousand miles an hour and just disappears into the distance. And me and my cousin, we look at the homie, and we're like, you just had to say something, didn't you? You just had to talk shit. you
Hmm.
know, we, and he's always said that um he's not exactly 100% sure what he believes is God, but he does know there is a power, and there's a
Hmm.
power of good, and there is a power of evil, and he's seen a lot of both. I mean, I've been on job sites with him where like he can tell like ghosts and spirits right away. I worked with him on job sites where he's like, he'll just walk onto this area, and he'll be like, "Whoa." He's like, something really bad happened here. There's a lot of bad energy here. And I'm like, that's kind of crazy. And sometimes I'll get a little feel for it too. I remember one time we showed up on a job site, and he was like, something really bad happened here. Somebody was in a lot of pain here, and they do not like us being here. And we're working, and out of nowhere he just goes, ah. And I look over, and he's got a scratch on his arm, three
Hmm.
like three marks, like looked like Freddy Krueger kind of stuff. But it wasn't like a fresh cut. It looked like an old scar, like it was black and red and funny colored and everything. And he's like, look at that. He's like, did you see that before? I was like, no, I've never seen that. He's like, yeah, that just happened. And I'm like, that's crazy. And as we finished the job, we are driving away. No less than 5 minutes later, he's like, hey, look at that. I looked at his arm. The marks were gone, completely gone, like they had never been there before.
Hmm.
It crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's wild. What
Uh,
does it? So when you say this person is a bruja, is that how you pronounce it?
yeah.
Is it something like that he does? Is it like does he do it for a living, or is it just something like an ability that he has?
It's more of like an ability. It's like it's been passed down through his family. So a lot of his family members are like this too, and it's kind of the thing where it's like a natural ability for them, but it's up to them to do something with it. To him, he knows the potential repercussions of the energy that he gets back when he does stuff like that. The way he's always explained it to me is, it doesn't matter what his intentions are when he does things for people or for himself. There's no guarantee how that energy is going to come back to him. So he could do something with all positive intention for people, but the energy that comes back to him could be negative. And because of reasons like that, he doesn't necessarily like to do it as like something to do. It's kind of, there's some things he kind of has no say in. Like he walks, and a lot of it's involuntary, and so a lot of it he kind of has no choice in. But as far as taking actions, as doing spells or doing things for people, he tends to shy away from it unless it's something that is like necessary.
Well, I would probably have to have a one-on-one conversation with him and pick his brain a little bit, because I mean, just at face value, and unless there's something I don't know about, I wouldn't necessarily agree with the fact that your intentions don't matter. But maybe if now let me ask you this. Would you mean when he's doing something for somebody, it doesn't matter his intentions?
Uh, he says regardless. So when he does things, whether it's for himself or someone else, he's putting out energy. He's using energy to make certain things happen. And whenever you do that, the energy comes back to you tenfold.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
whether it comes back to you positive or negative is the part that he says is not guaranteed. Now, if he does things positively with positive intent, most of the time, yes, it's going to come back positively. But he does say there is that chance that it could come back negatively, and whether it comes back negatively or positively, it's going to come back tenfold.
Well, and there is another thing too, where like if you do something with positive, like a big part of the manifestation journey is basically you're jumping timelines to create a new reality. And you can have positive intentions to, like, say for example, you have a job making $40,000 a year, and you get to work manifesting $140,000 a year. It's not uncommon at all for you to lose your job. You could lose your
Yeah,
job, lose your all this horrible shit could happen, but that's clearing the way for your manifestation to come in, you know? So,
yes, yes, I got you. Yeah, and I see exactly what you're saying there, and I agree with you there, and I think a lot of his stuff isn't necessarily manifestation, but the things he talks about specifically are more along the lines of witchcraft
yeah.
compared to manifesting, which I think would definitely have a lot more positive results.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what we do, especially when we intentionally start playing with energy, that is manifestation. I mean, the word manifestation is just a fancy word for result, you know? Like everything we experience in life is a manifestation. Everything is. When we use the term manifestation, what we're talking about is taking control of energy and making something happen on purpose, you know? And yeah, it is
I got
very, so even when people do witchcraft, that is manifestation. It's manifesting something to happen, but maybe
I
I don't
see. I
know.
see.
Like I said, I don't really want to go too far down the rabbit hole. I would have to probably have a one-on-one with him and pick his brain a little bit. But have you?
Yeah, I could talk to him. He may be interested in that.
Yeah.
He's
Would
independent.
Is there any other things that you've experienced being around this person?
Oh yeah, yeah. He used to live in this little town outside of Greeley, and one time we were staying there. We used to get together and play like magic and stuff like that. And one this specific house was has been there for since pretty much the creation of this country. It's one of the oldest towns in Colorado. And this house was right off the railroad. So there's been a lot of history to come in and out of that house. And you can feel the spirits in that place. Because I remember the first time I went over there, we were sitting down at the table playing magic. And I got this feeling like there's like people standing all around me, like up in my neck, and they're just breathing down my shirt, and it's making me nervous. My heart's pounding like crazy. Like I tried standing up and stretching, drinking some water, having a beer, and nothing. I couldn't shake this feeling. I kept shaking, and it wouldn't stop. And I'm sitting there, and I was talking to him about it later, and he's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "Those are the spirits here. They like to mess with people, and you're the new guy, so they're messing with you." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Okay." So after a few times, it kind of toned down, and then I noticed another friend who hadn't been there before came, and the same thing happened to him. And I could see him, and he's looking around like, "What's going on? Like, what is this?" And he's getting up and he's stretching, doing all the same stuff that I was doing, and I'm sitting there just laughing like, "They're getting you now too."
Yeah. That's the thing about it. If you feed it fear, you're feeding it power, you know, and They,
Exactly.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they probably know that because I can remember. Did you, if you say you've seen a lot of my videos, did you happen to catch the one I put on this channel about my first near death experience?
Um, I have seen one of your videos about your near death experience.
Well,
Yes, I don't know if it's the one specifically you're talking about, but it was one.
well, the one where we were playing with a Ouija board. Did you catch that one?
I don't think so. I don't think
Yeah,
I caught
we.
that.
I had just met this woman, and I had been suspended from my job for showing up drunk, and so I had a week off of work, and I met this woman on Facebook, and she liked to drink too. So I was like, "You want to come over and keep me company?" And I had her over to the house, and we just partied, drinking all week. And before I moved into this house, the lady that lived there right before I moved in died in the living room. And I told her that. And she said, "Oh, you want to talk to her?" And I was like, "What do you mean talk to her?" This was long before I knew anything about anything. And she said, "I can talk to dead people through Ouija boards." And my first thought was, "You are so full of shit." But I'm drunk. I'm one of those types of people. Yeah, let's try it. And I don't care. I'm always down to try something new. And so
Yeah.
she takes like this pizza box and rips it in half and a black Sharpie, and she draws out this little Ouija board. And then she took a beer bottle cap and used it for the little thing. And so we're putting our fingers on this thing, and it's moving like crazy. Like, and to me, it was so obvious that she was the one moving this thing. And I don't know her that well, so I don't want to be rude. So I'm thinking, this is so stupid. How am I going to get out of this without being rude? I'm like, I'm feeling kind of embarrassed. And so I'm trying to think, how am I going to get out of this? So I thought, oh, okay, I got an idea. So I said, okay, let me ask it a question. Are you a spirit that knows me? And then it went to yes. And I said, okay, spell your name. And it spelled out the name of my dead grandma. And I freaked out. I was like, oh shit, we got to stop this right now. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, that's my grandma's name. And she said, oh, we're talking to your grandma? I said, hell no. She would roll over in her grave if she even knew that I was playing with a Ouija board, let alone would she communicate with me like this. So we ripped it up and threw it away. And then my house went insane. Peanut butter jars flying off the shelf, cabinet doors slamming. And I would even see like these dark, what looked like clouds. They were like energy balls that would shoot through the house. I would just, and I would drink vodka back then, and I was a big vodka drinker. So I would just be sitting there pounding on a big bottle of vodka, wasted, watching this like, whoa, that's cool. And then
Some good vodka.
yeah, yeah. And you would hear these big loud banging noises. And then after several days of this goes on, I'm not reacting to it at all because I'm so pissy wasted out of my mind. And then that's when I attempted, well, I committed suicide. And I was over on the other side communicating with these beings, you know? And when I was there, I was in that place that I guess I would consider to be the lower astral realm, and they were there communicating with me face to face and basically told me, you invited us in here, you know and so that was kind of my first little experience with low, dark, negative entities like that. And
Yeah, and I've heard from my friend that a lot of entities like that can take brief memories, like people and they can duplicate that, like duplicate their name and try to play off like they're that person and stuff like that, just to kind of get a little more in depth into your mind and stuff like that.
yeah, and
I,
I wasn't even a big believer either. Like, people always say don't play with Ouija boards, and I thought it was a load of shit. I didn't believe that. So it's not like I went into this thinking, oh, something's going to happen, like I was imagining it. I had no belief in that whatsoever. I thought it was the biggest load of shit. So when it started happening, I was like, whoa, this stuff is real. Whoa, that's cool. And if I wasn't drinking, it probably would have scared the shit out of me. But I was so wasted that I just wasn't even reacting to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And like how you're saying with like the energy balls and stuff, I haven't witnessed that specifically myself, but my dad used to tell stories about his neighbor. and that used to happen all the time over there. They went over there and they'd see balls of like you're saying, like clouds, or sometimes balls of light, and then the lights would turn on and off and stuff like that too. Or who's it? My sister's ex-boyfriend from a long time ago. His mom was really into witchcraft and stuff, and their whole family was kind of attuned to stuff like that. And one of the houses they lived in, when they moved in, it had a pentagram painted on the floor. And so, they all did construction, so they sanded it off, they painted the floor, and 3 months later, the pentagram came back through the paint. And so they sanded it all down again, painted it again, and they put carpet over it, blue carpet. And 3 months later, that pentagram came back and it turned the carpet brown in the shape of the pentagram. And
Oh shit.
yeah, they freaked out after that and they left.
Oh man.
Like, not a place we want to be.
Yeah, I would have freaked out about that too.
Yeah, and it just, uh, but yeah, and like the Ouija boards, like the way my friend explains is it's like a light, it's almost kind of like, have you seen Stranger Things?
A little bit.
How they have the upside down,
Yeah.
it's the same place but it's different. He says that's what it is, and all these entities walk around in there. And when you do things like Ouija boards and pentagrams and these little things, you're not only opening a doorway, but you're creating a light, and these things can see that, and they can see things that are also drawn to it. Like his awakening is how he calls it, opening his third eye. He says once it's open, you can't close it, and once it's open, it's like a beacon for other things to see it as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I remember one time at his grandmother's house, I was with my baby's mom at the time, and we believe that some of her cousins may have had a lot of ill intention towards her, and whether they did it on purpose, something was around that house. Like kind of like how I was saying, at the one house, I felt like things were all over me, and like I couldn't breathe very well. Like it was like that, but this was such like a dark negative energy. Like I was terrified. There was nothing that I could see around me, but I was terrified. And my baby's mom was terrified. And like all we could do is, we had to get some candles and we had to do some prayers, but like it was a terrifying experience, and there was no way of explaining why it was so terrifying. Just
Hmm.
all this energy, you could feel it, and there was like no way around it. And they ended up looking into it, and it was something dark, obviously. Thankfully it wasn't something too powerful, but like whatever it was, it was caused by lots and lots of negative energy that came from this person who is adept to these things but may not necessarily know it. Like people that have the abilities but don't necessarily know it, when they get really pissed off, they can sometimes send negative energy like that, not even knowing they're doing it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I hold a belief that almost everybody has the ability to do that, and they may not realize it. Maybe some people can do it more than others, but if you do
Yeah.
focus on an individual long enough with bad intentions, you can attach negative energy to them, you know?
I can
And
see that.
yeah, and that's one of the things that I got this little book that there was this guy who was visited by ancient Native American spirits who had him write a book, and that's one of the things they explain in that book. It's called the Handbook, and that one of the things about karma is all you have to do is get irritated and think a bad thought about somebody, and you attach a karmic energy to them, but it attaches a karmic energy to you 3 times stronger when you do that. So
Okay. Yeah, and I've heard you talk about karmic ties and stuff like that. So I get what you're saying, and because I've had recent experiences with people where it's just like, why can't I get this person out of my life? And it could have been caused by, like you're saying, maybe anger, and sending out this energy, not knowing, and because of these reasons, these people are Yeah, like, it's kind of crazy, hard to explain, but I see what you mean with the karmic ties and stuff, and I feel like I have some of that going on in my life right now
Hmm.
too.
Well, I'll tell you
Definitely.
what, it was happening to my wife and I at first when we first got together. Because we've been experiencing energetic attacks since we first got together, because obviously, a lot of people know who we are, and there's a lot
True.
of a lot of people that hate us, and so we started experiencing people attacking us energetically, and and we didn't feed it fear. We immediately got to work learning how to identify it and send it back. And it's tough work, but it's like spiritual push-ups, going to the gym, it like amplified our spiritual abilities to be able to identify, because it's creepy. It'll creep up underneath your conscious awareness and it'll drive you insane before you even know what's going on. And then learning how to identify that and say, whoa, that's not my energy, and reject it and send it back, or just reject it and send it away. That, practicing that day after day after day after day, it's so easy that now if somebody tries to attack me energetically, I can feel it immediately, and she can too. And all we got to do is look at each other, and we both know energy attack, and then we do our thing, and then it's gone.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and I get what you're saying there too. Like kind of around when I first started watching your videos and stuff. My my I guess my baby's mom, she messes with metaphysics, and she does tarot and stuff like that, and she likes to fancy herself kind of like a witch. I guess I'd say in all reality she's probably a lower level if there was like levels to this stuff. But around the time that we were going through some things, like I was feeling those negative energies, and like I had never really had like anxiety or emotional problems my entire life, but I was this day, like this week, I was having panic attacks really bad. Like I was getting all this negative energy, and like I couldn't find how to shake it, and it was bothering me. It was affecting my work, it was affecting my whole entire life. And then like you're saying, I gotta say thank you, because I've taken a lot of advice you've given in your videos, as far as sending it back with light and love, you know, recognizing these things, and I started just kind of saying that in my head. It's like no hard feelings. I wish you nothing but happiness, light, love, and healing in your life. And I would just repeat it over and over again until eventually, I'd start to feel better. I would calm down, and it really kind of helped me out in that sense. And now I can understand better how to deal with this, and deal with things like that. So I thank you for that.
Absolutely.
It's one of the big
It's
reasons I love watching your videos is your advice is always on point.
It's good to hear. It helps me know that my job is worthwhile, because, like I've said 100,000 times, my career was an accident. I didn't want it, but I could tell I had this calling, like like spirit saying, "I need you here. I need you here." And I'm like, "Need me here for what?" So I started thinking, okay, well, I think what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to be the voice that I needed on my path. And sometimes it's easy to get stuck in your own bubble world, because we're just regular people. We live at home, we work at home, and it's
True.
easy to get that voice in your head saying, "Oh, maybe I'm just an idiot. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about." And it's almost like every time I start having that little voice creeping up in my head, I'll get a testimonial of somebody saying, "I took your advice and it worked," and I'm like, "Ah, that's cool."
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think what you're doing is awesome. And like you said, there's always going to be haters out there. There's always going to be people that want to say whatever they want to say. But the truth is the people that need the help are the ones that actually take the help, and those are the lives you're changing. Haters are going to be haters no matter what,
Yeah.
whether it's you or someone else. They're looking for something to hate on. But the people that do need the help, I guarantee they're getting what they need. So.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I'm about energy transmutation. So I take the haters and I use that as motivation. Like on a lazy day when I'm just so lazy and I need to get some work done, and I'm like, man, you know what? I can just put this off till tomorrow. But like with what I do for a living, every day I wait, my workload doubles. If I want to get my check to where it needs to be to cover all the bills. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
need some motivation. So I'm like, all right, I'll go to my comment section. So I'll start going through my comment section and looking for a hater, and then I'll find one, and I'll be like, oh, you want to see me fail, don't you? You want to see me fail. You want to piss me off. You know what? I'm going to do 10 times the work that I was going to do just because I know you're watching and getting pissed off. And I will bust out like 5, 10 videos with a big smile on my face, just thinking, I bet that person's watching so mad at me right now. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But that's just a perfect example of energy transmutation. Somebody throws hate at you, you take it, you bottle it up, you stuff it in the fuel tank.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's actually perfect. I've been learning more about that recently, with everything that's been going on in my life, kind of with the same female and stuff. It's kind of um, we have a tie that can't be broken now. We're having a kid, so I can't get rid of her.
Yeah.
But but every time I think of all the negative things going on, instead of like letting it stir in my head and letting it get bad, I exercise. That's the big one for me. I've been wanting to get in shape, but with my job working 11, 12-hour days, sometimes I don't always have the time or the energy. So when I get home and I find, if I start thinking about these negative things, I, instead of dwelling on it, instead I'm like, you know what, I can turn that into energy. And I turn around and try to exercise and get something positive out of it. And the whole time I'm like, at the same time, I wish you nothing but healing, light, and love, you know
Yeah.
sending it
Absolutely.
back to you, and yeah, use that as motivation as well.
Absolutely. Well, Carlos, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up. I do
Sure.
greatly appreciate you joining me. That was a super awesome story.
Cool.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
hit up your cousin and see if is it your cousin or your friend?
uh Brother-in-law, friend, technically.
Oh, okay.
He's pretty much my brother. Let's
Okay.
just say he's my brother.
Yeah, just have him hit me up. I'd be interested in having him on the show.
Sure, sounds good.
All
Cool.
right, man.
It's a pleasure talking with you.
Absolutely. You have a good day. I wish you the best.
You as well.
All right.
Cool.
Bye bye.
Later.